Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to my channel. Hope you're doing well today. Hope your weekend has been phenomenal. Now today, I'm going to take you through a string build. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I wanted to put a fast flight Flemish twist string on my Ghost Takedown longbow. I was really impressed with this Dynaflight 97 material that I used to make a Flemish twist string for my longbow, which had an unusual amount of hand shock in it. And putting this string material on there really quieted down that bow, so much so that I really enjoy shooting it again. So I wanted to take you through the string build process, and the reason I wanted to do that is because you may have not ever built a Flemish twist or put together a Flemish twist string, and maybe you're a little bit on the fence of, should I try it or should I not? Well, I've got a few things here that I'm going to show you that's going to help you if you decide to go down that path. One of them is just a string jig. I'll show you that here in a second. Just a home-built string jig that you can make for less than 10 bucks that'll help you make as many Flemish twist strings as your heart desires. So let me get set up. I'm going to show you the jig. I'm going to explain it a little bit. Then I'm going to take you through the process, show you how to put the string together, and what it should look like when you get finished. So let's dive into it right now. So just a quick rundown of the equipment you're going to need to make your own Flemish twist string. First, you're going to need a string jig. Now this string jig I made in an afternoon. It didn't take a whole afternoon, just a couple hours. You know, out of a piece of 1x3, just pine wood. Nothing special here. You don't have to buy any kind of special wood for this unless you want to make something really nice, like an heirloom quality. But no, really just a piece of 1x3. And you'll notice here in the end, I've got some just finishing nails. This is 2 rows, 10 nails, and they're spaced about a 1/2 inch apart. Then up on the other side of the string jig, I've got another row of holes that I drilled in here, 1 inch increments apart. And then I'm using a 1/4 inch dowel as my marker, wherever I'm going to place in the hole. I'll explain that in a moment. And then I've got 2 more finishing nails at the end, which is how I make my loops on my string. Another thing you're going to need a good box knife, just a sharp blade. You're going to need some serving material for when you finish. You're going to need your string material, and I also use the Dacron B55 that I've got here, and I'm actually going to use this to make my knock on the string when everything is served and ready to go. You're also going to need some string wax. You can get some string maker's wax. I would say, yeah, get it if you got it, or you can use beeswax. This is just some Allen string wax that I've got, and I use it for all my string builds. I've never had an issue with it. Then, of course, you're going to need your handy-dandy bow square whenever you get ready to set your knock, put your serving on, all of that different stuff that goes into that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp my jig to my table, because you're going to be putting a lot of pressure on this as you're moving around. You're going to be pulling and looping string around. Then you're going to need it to be stationary and not moving whenever you do the final braid of your Flemish twist string. So let me get this bolted to the table, and then we will get started with the string build. Okay, so a little bit about my string jig. Basically what you've got when you have this movable pin here that you can set according to whatever your bow length is and whatever string length you need. Since my Ghost Takedown longbow is a 64 AMO length, I'm going to have to put my pin in my 68 inches. And the reason I'm going to put the pin here is because you want to make that string 4 inches longer than what your AMO length actually is for your bow. And once you twist everything together, that's going to make that bowstring the exact length you need for your particular bow. And if you don't know what length of string you need, you can actually take a tape measure while the bow is strung up and then take that measurement there. That'll give you a pretty accurate measurement of where you need to be when you end up. So let me get this set up. We're going to take our string and we're going to tie off to this pin here. This is the last pin or the first pin, depending on which way you're coming from, closest to you. So we just want to tie our string off. That's going to give us a pretty secure fit, and we're going to go around all of the pins for the first loop. Now when you come back, you don't want to start here, or you don't want to start the new loop there. What you want to do is go around the outside one more time. That gives you your first loop. Now, one of the reasons going around like this is going to keep your strings even as they taper down. And also, it's going to be like a little cheater for you if you're making a string of, whatever string count you're going to put in there. You might lose your count as you're twisting around. I know I have before. So you can always count the pin positions where the string is going through. That'll tell you how many strands you are actually in your bundle at any given time. So what I'm going to do is put 8 loops on this. Now I already have a bundle made up, and then when I get this ready to go, I'm going to show you how I twist everything together. So let's get our 8 loops, and then we'll finish out this string build. And that is going to give me my 8 loops. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now I have 8 strands in this bundle, and all I have to do is take and cut through the center here to release it from the string jig. Now, before you take the string completely off, what you want to do is take your string wax, and we're going to take about a foot section of this string, probably about there. What you're going to do is take the wax between and put it on the string, hold that between your thumb, and then just pull. You want to coat this part of the string well, because what's going to happen is once you make your twists and you get your string all put together and on the bow, you're not going to be able to go back in and add wax to this part of the string. So you want to put as much protection on there as you possibly can before you get it all together and get it on the bow. Another thing this is going to do is going to hold these strings together, and that's going to be important when we get to the braiding part of making the Flemish twist string, and I'll show you that here in a second. So once you've got that done, you can just carefully pull your string off and then do the other side. So now that I've got the string pretty much straightened out, we're going to do the same process on this side. I'm going to take about a foot of our string material. We're just going to work some wax into the strings. You can put as much or as little on here as you want to. It's not going to affect anything other than protect your string. So there we go. Okay, so now I have this bundle ready to go. I'm going to get my other bundle that I have, and I'm going to show you how to braid this together to make your finished string to go on your bow. All right, so once you've got both your bundles ready to go, now it does help if you're using 2 different color strings, but since I don't have another color of this Dynaflight material, black's going to be the color of choice for the string build today. I've actually put a piece of white paper here so you can see what I'm actually doing. Okay, so basically you want to make sure that the ends of your string are even. Doesn't have to be perfect, then we don't have to get too crazy with it, but you want them to be relatively even. You're going to take a ruler. You can see I've got markings here of things that I use from time to time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure about 9 inches of this string. Now that's where I'm going to start my braids, at that 9-inch mark. And to get this started, you get your mark and you just come around your pin, take your string and just tie it off down here gently on one of the pins. That way, because you're going to be pulling on this part of the string, and what's going to happen is it's going to try to creep up this way on you. So once you get your measurement, you get your string set on the pin, all you're going to do is take and do clockwise twist in each of the ends of the bundles. Now be neat in this part, or take some time and just pay some attention to detail in this part, because this is going to make for a better product whenever you're finished making your string. So you're going to clockwise turn, and then you're going to counterclockwise over the string in your left hand. So clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise. And you're just going to continue this process just for a few minutes, or just a few seconds rather. And you're wanting to make this is going to make your loops for your limbs. Now one loop is going to be bigger than the other because you're going to have to compensate for that loop coming or being put on and taken off of the end of the limb to whenever you take your bow down. So I want to get about, I think that would be good for the that's probably, that's about an inch loop. I think we'll be good there. So that's about, it's right at 3 inches, just there at 3 inches. So I think we're good there. And once you do that, you just want to take your string back off and you're going to slide it around. Put a little bit of tension on there. Now here, whenever you get to this part, I don't know if you can see this or not, but what you want to do is you want to match the string. So if this is going over these two sections here, I don't know if you can see that or not, the way this string is set up. So what I'm going to do is match the position of the strings. And then I'm going to continue in the clockwise twisting of my string. So clockwise, counterclockwise. You're just going to repeat this process all the way to the last string here in your bundle or in your braid. So let's finish out that part of it. And as you're going, you want to make sure that you're kind of taking some of those twists out down the string length. It just makes it neater and easier to do. And again, this is not going to be a perfect process, but once you get it done, you can trim these little tag ends up, or you can burn them. You can do whatever you want to with them. I tend to just leave them. I don't fuss with them too much unless it's sticking out a good bit. And just come a little bit past your last string end. And the piece that you tied off to begin with, this little fella here, what we're going to do is take this, and you can use clips, you can use whatever you want to. I don't want to fool with clips whenever I'm doing this. And you just want to cinch that down. And basically, that makes your first loop. This is going to be the top loop. Now that we've got that, I'll show you the next step in the process, and this is probably one, I don't say it's overlooked, but it's something you need to make sure that you do. It'll just make for a neater string. So let me reposition the camera again, and then I will show you the next step in the process. Okay, there really is no easy way to show this, especially with the room that I've got to work with here. But basically, you want to separate your bundles. See if I can get back here far enough, like this. And what you're going to do is you're going to twist these about 20 turns. 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. When you get your 20 turns in, you want to just briefly check, make sure that you're roughly the same length. These are, so I don't have to do anything extra to these. So let's switch these back, and I'll show you the next step in the process and explain why I needed to do that. Now, the reason we did the twist in the string is pretty simple, actually. What's going to happen is, as you're doing the clockwise twist to make your other braided end, that's going to start twisting that string up. So twisting those strings clockwise with it stretched out and coming back to here, what you're doing twisting clockwise is actually going to untwist those twists that you just put in that string. Now, that's important because it's going to make for a straighter, more well-uniformed, if you will, string. And you're going to do the same process here. So we're going to take this, we're going to measure about 9 inches. And we're just going to start the process one more time. Clockwise turns, counterclockwise loop over. This loop's not going to have to be as big as the other one because this is going to be the stationary loop. It's not going to come off the string knock on the limb. And you just want to make sure that you are really just paying some good attention to detail here, because this is going to make for a better string build in the end. I think we're good there. I might could take one of those out. Okay. You just slide your string around. This is the trouble with the black string, making sure that you get the right, just match that up, and then start your twists again. Now this is going to be trial and error on your loops, how big you need to make those, what those should look like for you. You may have to make a couple of strings to figure that out. Once you do it a couple of times though, you kind of get the feel of what should be the right string loop size. And as you're going down through here, you want to make sure that you're kind of checking your string, untwisting as you go, because it is going to turn into a big twisted mess on you. Then continue your process. And again, these little tag ends are going to be there, so don't get too bent out of shape about those. And as I'm doing the twists that I put in the string are actually coming out. That's a good thing. That's what we want, right? And there we go. I'm at the end, so what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to tie this side off. What I'm going to do is just take it off the loop, and I'm going to take my loop end, put it back on, and then we're going to twist this string just a little bit. You're just going to pull the string taut, and you're going to twist it in on itself. And that's what gives these Flemish twist strings their strength, and what keeps them from coming apart is you're actually twisting it into itself, and that tension from the bow limbs is going to keep this from coming undone. That's why these strings are really good, really dependable. And I'll show you how to. Now, how many twists you put in this are going to be up to you. You're going to have to kind of play around with this. And we're going to put it on the bow and see exactly where we are and see how it comes out. One thing about these fast flight strings that I can tell you that you need to make sure of is make sure that your limb tips are reinforced. You don't want to put these on here if they're not. So we're going to take our bigger loop. We're going to slide it down on the bow limb. And that's why you make it bigger, so it'll go farther down so you can take the string on and off as you're taking the bow down. Let's see how close we actually got to the proper length. I think we're close. Now you're going to have to do some adjustments, of course, but if we get it close enough to string up, we're good. Now, if you don't have one of these, pick one up. These are cheap, inexpensive insurance for your bow. Now you can do a step through if you want to, that's fine. I see people do it all the time. I can't say that it's going to be good for your bow limbs over time. For me, I just think it's going to warp them, it's going to damage them. I could be wrong, but maybe, who knows. So let's string this up. Now I can tell you just by looking at this, I'm going to have to put some more twists in it. Let's see. Yeah, so right now this is about 6 1/4. It needs to be at 8 inches for this bow. That's where this bow shoots the best. But there's your Flemish twist string. Your Flemish twist fast flight string. And you're just going to take those off. And I'm going to show you how to treat this string real quick before you actually put it on the bow, or before you actually put your serving on. So let's get this in the bow cradle and I'll finish out this part of the string build, but I'm definitely going to have to adjust this string a little bit. Okay, so before you put serving on this string, before you finish out your build, you want to take your string wax and you want to take a small piece of leather. These are just some old work gloves I had. I actually cut the fingers out of them and these work great. And you're just going to take your wax and you're going to go down the length of your string and coat it really well. Now you need to do this a couple of times, depending on how much you're shooting. If you're shooting a lot, you want to do this at least once a week. I know there are some people that say you never put wax on a string, but myself, I say it protects it, keeps it from, sealed out from water, the elements, whatnot. Okay, so put that on there. We're good. And now we're going to take our small piece of leather and we're just going to heat that wax up. And what's going to happen is, as you're creating friction on the string, it's actually smoothing it out a good bit. It's heating the wax and it's getting into the string itself, into those fibers, and you should have a well-protected string when you get finished with this part of it. And there it is. There is your Flemish twist fast flight string for your bow. It's a nice build, actually. Turned out really well. Now I still have to set it. I've got it to about a 7.5 inch brace height, but that's okay. That'll come next. But there you go. Simple, easy process. The whole build probably took me 30 minutes. So if you've ever thought about building your own string, I would say give it a try. There's plenty of tutorials out there, lots of good information, lots of stuff you can try. The only next step is to actually put the serving on this bow, which is what I have here. This is some red and black serving. This is some thin material. I think it's like a 0.21 or 0.21 for this serving material. It works really well with the nocks that I use. Just going to get that on there. I can show you real quick how I do my placement. Put your bow square on there, and you just want that to have just enough tension to stop as it comes across that rest. Doesn't need to be too far this way or too far up. That way it gives you a good center part. Just mark your center mark with I use a paint pen. These work really well. And then I'll take some additional measurements from there to actually determine how far out I'm going as far as my serving material on my string. So there you go. There is your Flemish twist string build. Well, there you go. An inexpensive string build. Again, 21 bucks. And probably the $10 I've got invested in my string jig is all it took to make this string. Of course, the wax and all that stuff, you should have that anyways if you own a bow and you wax your strings, so you should have that already. But again, very simple process, very easy. Anybody can do this as long as you take the time to pay attention to the details as you're putting your string together. That's what makes for these really nice ends. I know you can't see that, but that really helps whenever you get into the braiding part of your Flemish twist, or the twisting part, whatever you want to call it. I call it braiding because that's basically what it is. But again, very easy to do. And it's one of those skills that once you learn it and you're able to do it with confidence, this is going to save you money in the long run. It's going to help you whenever it comes time to restring your bow. You don't have to order, you don't have to pay shipping, you don't have to go get somebody to do it for you. This is just so simple to do, so easy to do. I make all my own strings and I enjoy doing it. It's one of the things in archery that I really enjoy doing, is just taking the time to craft a string. Of course, I'm gonna get the serving on here in just a bit, and then take this bow out and shoot it, and I'll probably do a review of the performance of the fast flight material on this bow as compared to the Dacron B55 that I use or had been shooting on this bow. So very easy, very simple. Hopefully you'll take the plunge and do it yourself. Come on, focus. Hopefully, for some reason it doesn't focus with my glasses on. Hopefully, you know, you'll take the plunge and jump in there with both feet and build your own string, and hope you have a fun time doing it. But thank you so much for coming by and just checking out my content. For my subscribers, I really appreciate you taking the time to subscribe to my channel, and I really appreciate you taking the time to post the great comments that you do. I really love the comment section, and I always answer each and every comment. It may take me a day or two, but I always make sure that I get back to you because you thought enough to make a comment, and I think enough of you to comment back to you. And if you're new to my channel and you're just stumbling in here and you like the content that you see, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the notifications bell. That way, when I do post future content, you get the notification. You can come in and hang out with me for a little while, and maybe we'll learn something together. So thank you so much for coming by. I really appreciate it. I can't say that enough. And it's always my hope that you have a great day, a better day tomorrow, and a wonderful week ahead of you. And until next time.